the Winning Ed podcast. John, how are you? I'm stuttering my words. That's how long it's been. So
it's been a little while. Mostly my fault. I was on holiday for a few weeks, and then I came back and just fighting fires with the business a little bit for the last few weeks, as always. So some things, again, as with everything, sometimes other things have to take a little bit of priority. But we're back.
Well, how dare you? You dared to have a 50th birthday, didn't you? And a little trip.
Just like fucking talking about that before we started. I thought we were done with the whole thing.
We were done with that. Yeah.
I did.
30th birthday.
I think that's where I've been, to be honest, is just getting over, the fact that I've just turned 50. So I've come to terms with it now. So we're all good.
Yeah, and you had a nice, I'll let you tell people about your little, your amazing holiday that you had. But then we caught up in the UK as well, didn't we? So
yeah, it was good. I kind of, went to Santorini, which was fucking beautiful. First time in my life, kind of, I guess what I would call, because I'm still a bit of a northerner fucking heart. I've never really seen the value in spending fortunes on hotels and things like that. Like, I might buy an expensive or a nice car, but I'm into those hotels and things. I'm like, well, I'm not going to spend much time there. But for the first time in my life, I was like, look, I just want 3 or 4 days of nothing, and I'm gonna overspend, which I did a lot. But yeah, it was worth it. Like, I've learned to value different things as I've got a little older. And look, it's certainly not something I'm going to be doing every year for my yearly holiday. But from that kind of, fuck, this is a lot of money, to get in there and going, look, you know what? It's actually, for 4 or 5 nights, it was worth kind of every penny. So just to kind of relax and chill out. And then we bookended, UK at the start, UK at the end. You were on holiday for most of the week. I was back, so we managed to catch up at least for one night, which was a good laugh.
Yeah, we had a nice meal. Should we talk about the shooting, or should we move that? Should we move that along?
No, I mean, fucking hell, that was horrendous. Fuck me, my eyes are a little blind, but fuck me. So just for those of you, actually 3 or 4 of you that are listening, we went clay pigeon shooting. And clearly I was fucking shocking at it. I mean, I couldn't fucking hit a barn door from 5 yards. So, yeah, it was bad. So, we were there, you, Mark, Danny, got to have a good fucking laugh at how shit and horrendous I was. So yeah, it was a good laugh. It was fun. And I was under no illusion I might have been shit at that. So you guys...
Yeah.
It's moving. I mean, Jesus, I'm much better. I've learned I'm probably much better off at running around and chasing something with my bare hands than I am trying to fucking shoot it. But,
yeah, and you got absolutely no sympathy out of us whatsoever, did you? And we mercilessly give it to you, didn't we? And I'm still laughing about it now.
Was already missing like literally everything, and then all I could hear in the background as I'm trying to fucking lighten shit up is sniggering, laughing. But I do miss, no matter what. One thing that's funny about all that, as always, is missing. And I think I will call it like northern banter. Banter in the UK is one of the best things about the UK, in my opinion. It was funny. I saw there's this thing, you've probably seen it going around. I think it was on Mad Bible, saying that the UK is the second most miserable country in the world. And I'm like, where have you got that fucking...
Yeah.
Because I don't hear a lot. I'm like, we are all miserable, but we're all fucking funny.
Yeah.
And because we're all a bit miserable together, we have a lot of banter, and we find ways to make life fun. Because the weather can be grey, it can be rainy. There's a lot of shit goes on, but some of the funniest times in my fucking life have taken place in the UK and around and all that sort of stuff. So I find it funny when these fucking polls come out, because you kind of like, well, describe what miserable really means, because we moan a lot, but I think it's just fucking habit more than anything, right? I wouldn't say I'm necessarily fucking completely unhappy, especially when we were there. We had a lot of laughs. So yeah, the banter was fucking cool. It was good to just be back in that, because again, the US is a little different when it comes to banter. They're not into sarcasm. I don't. I mean, my life's different here than it kind of was, I guess, in the UK. I'm not surrounded by close friends and things like that. But yeah, there's definitely, from a banter point of view, it's not the same here. It's different. Yeah, you get home and I'm around you guys, and within seconds, it's just ripping each other to shreds, but in a fun way.
Yeah, it's all from a place of love, isn't it? You know, we had a right laugh, and we're used to you being good at everything, you see, and me and Mark, you know, we're all like obviously big kids, aren't we? And it was such we were clay pigeon shooting, just for people to be clear. We weren't shooting real stuff or real things. We were clay pigeon shooting,
Oh,
and yeah, and it was. Yeah, if we were shooting food, you'd have been hungry, wouldn't you? You know, so
I'd be fucking dead by now.
yeah, you'd have been
Well,
starving.
actually,
But
I'd just be stealing your food.
yeah, well, that's exactly what had happened. that jujitsu comes in handy, doesn't it? You know, so you know, but yeah, like you said, we had a lovely dinner, didn't we, in the evening, and it was a great catch. We went clay pigeon shoot, we had a right laugh, and yeah, and it was good. And like you say, you've been at Santorini, had an unbelievable time. There's definitely a mindset shift when you go to these places as well. They're big money, but you see the value there, don't you?
I think places like Santorini as well, you forget the cultural difference, you know, and I don't want to put anywhere else down, but you go to somewhere like Santorini, the islands, Greek islands, even the Spain, the Spanish islands, and all those kind of places, Italy, whatnot. It's just such a different vibe.
Yeah.
And each one is different, you know. You can go, you know, US to Canada, and it's kind of the same. You can go state to state, and there's not much difference. You know, we went to Mexico, and I'm sure there's some more beautiful places in Mexico, but we were like, it's okay. You go to a place in Europe, and you're like, okay, this is fucking beautiful, and the culture and the service of people working there was something I massively noticed. That these places that purely run on tourists, basically, you know, the way the people that work in the restaurants and the bars kind of welcome you and look after you and, you know, keep you in there and remember you every day. You know, I mean, Santorini's tiny, but like, you know, within a couple of days, like the local little place we went to, everyone's, you know, saying hello every day. And you're like, fuck, I've only been here 2 days.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff you forget, especially living somewhere as big and as spaced out as LA, where everyone is 100 mile an hour and no one has time to stop for you, and you don't really, you know, have any of that. And look, I don't have time to stop and talk shit either, but you go there and everything slows down, and then you realize that, you know, what really good customer service can kind of be. Now, look, you know, some places you pay for it. Don't get me wrong, but you're like, okay, wow, this is proper service. You know? Go from that place where they were cleaning and tidying my room like fucking 3 or 4. Literally every time I went out, they came in and cleaned or did something. And then you get to the Hilton, and it's like if you don't leave your sign on the fucking door, they don't clean it. And you're like, and you know, in my world, Hiltons and stuff are not. I don't think they're super cheap hotels. Like they should just fucking. So yeah, the service vibe, culture. I'm super pleased I picked there. We looked at loads of different countries to go to, but I realised I've not been to Europe for years.
Yeah.
On that kind of holiday, and it was like, okay, wow, I forgot how good this is, and I realised now when it was on my doorstep when I lived in the UK, I did not appreciate it enough.
Yeah.
And now I've got to fucking do 2 crazy fucking flights of 12 to 13 hours just to get there. So, yeah, appreciate what you've got while you've got it, because the UK is very well placed for a lot of places in Europe. So,
yeah, I think it's easy to focus on, particularly with the UK. The UK is good at this, isn't it? Like you say, it's good at focusing on the things that it's, you know, not very good at, and the things it hasn't got going for it. But like you say, it's very, very central to get to. Not only can you get, certainly East Coast America is actually not that far, is it? You know, from
New York.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not that far. That's only an hour further on than going to Cyprus the other way, and the same distance to Dubai. You know, Dubai is 6.5 going there, sort of 7 coming back. You know, so it is very well placed, like you say, and then there's loads of research, and that might, because we're going to talk a bit about my event in a second, aren't we? That I've got coming up, but there's loads of research, isn't there, into the lifespan of Mediterranean people and the Mediterranean diet, and what all the healthy sort of foods and oils do to your brain and your body. And
amazing.
Yeah, they live an incredible life, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even trying, you know, to eat in any certain way, but just the food. 4 days of eating food there, I felt better than being at home. You know, the weather's conducive with fucking, you know, nice salads and stuff like that. But yeah, just the food was amazing. And 3 or 4 days of that, You know, even mixing in a few drinks here and there, I felt great. You know, by the time I got to the UK, I felt fucking amazing. So,
Yeah.
I know, you know, needed the fucking unwind as well. But yeah, there's a lot. Like I say, there's a lot. You forget how big and how many places there are in Europe to actually go and visit. And I don't think I made enough effort. I was always one of those when I was in the UK. I was always looking further afield. You know, I was obsessed with Australia, the US, fucking places that are miles away. Ended up going and living in those places when all the while you've got all this stuff on your doorstep that's just as beautiful, if not more sometimes. You do get a different culture. Not that there's anything wrong with Western culture as well, but yeah,
it's like you say, it's 3.5 hours away on a plane, and you're in paradise, aren't you? In places like Santorini and all that, you know. So, yeah, absolutely. No, I get it, mate, and I'm glad you had a good time. And I think there's, and it kind of lends us into this whole event piece now. But certainly in the UK and definitely in parts of America, and I'm aware that this is a fucking big statement here now, general statement, but it just seems to me that everybody's you know, work, achieve, make money, and then all right, you can argue that it's because of cost of living and politics and all those things, but it's a life of a million miles an hour into it. I'm not just saying this because you were drinking there. I don't know what it is, but it looks like a coffee, but you know, it looked like a Starbucks, and there's nothing wrong with a nice tasting coffee, is there? But there's so many of us now that are, and of course, there's an argument that, you know, like you say, these tourist resorts, and they live a simple life, and there's an argument for the greatness of that. But then I'm sure that has financial challenges as well, out of season and all that kind of stuff. Or if, you know, weather ruins the tourism or what, you know, whatever. Greece has had well-known global economic issues, hasn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of, as a country, it doesn't make much money, but then you look at big city life, you know, London, New York, LA, all those kind of places. And everyone is hammering it, but also hammering the self as well. And the stress levels, the anxiety levels, the mental health levels, getting fat as fuck. Over to you, really. But
I mean, you know, the problem with you know, living in cities like New York, LA, London, I would, you know, put up there as well. You know, even places like Hong Kong and Singapore, where I've lived, like, you know, the cost of living and the cost of, you know, particularly apartments, you know, is so insane that, you know, everybody is in this rat race just trying to keep up with the cost of living. If you want to work and live in that kind of city, it's not cheap. And if there's anything I've kind of learned, look, you know, it's you know, there's even you will get paid more living in a more expensive city, but your cost of living is also way more. So it's kind of, you know, you're swapping one problem for another in some ways. Like, I'm under no doubt that whatever I, you know, do here and what I can charge per hour and stuff. And look, it means nothing if the business is only breaking even every month. It doesn't matter whether you're breaking even at 10 grand a month revenue or a million. It's the same. You've still got nothing, right? The numbers just look fucking higher and more stressful, right? But I think, you know, I've thought about, I could come back to the UK, you know, but to do what I do back in the UK, my hourly rate's going to drop a lot. Could I earn more money? I don't know. The cost of living would be a lot less, but then my charges would be less as well. So, but I do think that, you know, LA, New York, places like that, people are working so hard just to keep up. You know, this is the first place, you know, I've lived in where, you know, I've got trainers that some of them have got 2 or 3 jobs, and I've never had to really work around that a little bit before, because I'm kind of like, you know, I want this place to be the be all and end all for them, but I can only pay so much money, and I know what the average cost of an apartment is here, and I know what an average personal training salary is for our type of business. And even our trainers have said, you know, they look on job boards, they look on things like, actually, you know, you guys pay better than anyone else, but it's still not enough for a lot of people to live in LA and be comfortable. So some of them have got 2 jobs. I've got one girl here, she's got 3 jobs. Not ideal for anyone, but anyone running around trying to do 3 jobs a day, 3 jobs in a week just to fucking get by, there's a problem there, right? It's not easy. So Yeah, I don't know what the answer to a lot of that is, because everything just seems to be getting more and more expensive, and people's hourly rates are not going up enough. And I guess, something I'm looking at myself at the moment is like, okay, how do you get ahead of that? Because I think the way the world is changing, and be interesting to hear what some of your guest speakers talk about in some of this stuff, is like, how do you get ahead of inflation and all these things? Things are going up way more than anybody's hourly rate is going up, which leads into, okay, entrepreneurship, working for yourself, which is not easy, but trying to earn way more money than any employee is gonna give you. And you doesn't mean you're stable, doesn't mean you've got it made, because it's hard work to build something, work for yourself and earn a lot of money. But you think in the next 10 years, like, you've got AI coming along, people working for employers, like, the landscape for that in the next 10 years is going to be, I feel, is going to be very different, because I think people are getting to the point where they almost just can't afford to live having a normal job. So everyone's got a side hustle. COVID helped a lot with this. People learning to do things for themselves, earn money outside of their job, and now maybe making that into a job. But then, how soon is that world going to get saturated? Everybody trying to sell themselves online is the new market for business, right? So I don't know. I don't have any answers, but definitely things are not slowing down.
Yeah.
People are not slowing down. People are not finding, I don't think people are finding easier ways to earn money and live. I just think finding better ways to potentially try to earn more and get out of the rat race of, well, but you lot keep putting all this stuff up, and this job hasn't put my hourly rate up for years. And if it does go up, it's minute.
Well, unless they find a solution, they're having to work more hours, aren't they? And that's
I mean, California have just put some fucking thing in place on raising the cost of insurance, and motor insurance on average is going up 54%. 54%. My car insurance is just about to renew, and it's gone up $200 a month. Like, that's a lot.
A month.
That's a month. That's exactly fucking no change in anything. And that's like, you think that a few other things are going up. Like, for something like my business, people that are just about affording their personal training, and then that happens. Like, they need a car more than they need personal training, especially in LA, right? So, you can see where people, with things going up at that kind of percentage rate, like, no one's ever had a 54% fucking pay rise in their life. I don't think. I mean, maybe, but if they are, you're talking big fucking companies, but 54% is insane. So I don't see how people are going to stay ahead of this having a normal job.
Yeah, the masses aren't getting 54% pay rises. Simple as that. It's only the elite levels in terms of business and commerce, or sport or whatever. But I mean, so the event that we're doing, I touched on a second ago, the Reset Summit. It's trying to help people with that. Now we can't help people, like you say. Can't force employers to put hourly rate up, and we can't.
They can't afford it. Is the problem?
No, they can't. They can't.
My staff more and pay them more money, 100%. If we had it, those things, everything else goes up around us, right? So, the cost to run my business goes up more than whatever money's coming in, and then that makes it tough to pay employees more. And a lot of this stuff that's happening, people that don't run businesses that have employees, and I think this is where people don't get it. When you have employees, you see everything very differently when things go up, and you're kind of like, okay, the solution, when the state or the government puts something up that make the cost of me running my business more expensive for no reason, right? Especially if it's a tax or an insurance, my only option is to potentially lay off staff, because there's only two areas I can cut costs. 3, marketing, which I can't afford to cut because you need marketing. It's usually one of the first to try and cut. Staff, or your rent, right? These are the 3 areas where I can try and cut money, right? So, give you an example, California just put the minimum wage up from, I think, around $17 an hour for fast food workers, people that work in McDonald's, and there's a ton of McDonald's and fucking I can't remember off the fucking names, Burger King, all of them, you know the script. But any of those, right? They went put it up from $17 to $20. In this, we're trying to help workers of low income that have to work for fast food places and stuff like that. What do you think the employers did? They cut staff. So yes, some of them now are on more money. The ones that stayed,
just getting less hours.
But it's like, okay, I used to be able to afford 20 staff. I'll run the numbers at that hourly rate. Now I can only afford 17. So you three have to go. Like, this is what people don't fucking get. And then everyone comes down on the businesses. Oh, you're cutting staff. I'm like, because I've just been told by the fucking government that I have to put their hourly rate up. Right? And I have arguments about that. Do I want people to be paid more money to do their job? Absolutely, if possible. But the business still has to run at the end of the day. And businesses are going to find ways of making sure that they still, if best as possible, make their profits or at least stay alive. I mean, there's fast food places closing down because of this, right? So the other thing, some people just go, on a bigger scale like McDonald's, they just go and look at how many McDonald's have we got not making money? Just close those down. Fuck it, we don't need them, right? So people don't see the big picture with this sort of stuff. People go, oh, isn't that great for the employees? Yeah, the ones that keep their jobs. Not the ones that get canned because the business still goes, well, my in versus out has to stay the same. So you put this up, we'll get rid of this. And it's always going to come, if you're not careful, it's going to come down to the staff. So, yeah, it's a fucking tough one. But
it's making people more stressed. That was my whole point. Whether you're the employee, and of course, there's a different type of challenge and a different type of stress. But if you're the young junior who's desperate for more hours and trying to get more, like you say, you might be buzzing because you get $3 hourly rate, but you're only getting 10 hours a week instead of 20 now. Then you've got a problem.
It doesn't do what they like to sell you.
Yeah,
you get the fucking votes and all this shit.
Yeah, well, I was going to say let's not go there with politicians, other than to say that they're all fucking twats. But the stress is then on the employer to keep a business going. It's on the employer to make a business make money. It's on the whole thing, and that was kind of where I was going with is that in my opinion, in the big cities, the big countries, stress levels are through the roof now, aren't they? Yeah. People are stressed to shit. They're working harder, they're working longer, they've got more challenges. In many cases, for me, one of the biggest epidemics that I come across day in, day out with my clients now is nobody sleeps good anymore.
No.
A good night's sleep is what was always taken for granted as a kid. For a lot of people, I can't tell you the amount of people I speak to, high-end executives, and I'll say, what's sleep like? And they're like, what's sleep? And the days of it used to be a bit of a badge of honor, didn't it? Like, I don't need loads of sleep, I can function. Whereas now, people are like, I'm fucked, I'm tired. And the words I was looking at is burnout. People are becoming more and more burnt out physically and mentally burnt out.
But how do we, tie it into to your event? Like, when everyone's spinning so many fucking plates, because I have this issue and I haven't got a but how do you fucking reset, right? Because taking a week off, while I was away was fucking great. But to be honest, it was great until the last few days. And then I started to re-stress about the business. I started to look at the numbers and go, yeah, this is what I'm going back to.
Yeah.
Since I've come back, it's been 100 mile an hour. Like, I needed that little break, don't get me wrong. But the stress coming back doubled. Now that's on, on me and, like anyone's life, the state of where the business was. And, it was the first time me and Danny had been away together and left the business. And, the team did what they could. I've got no issue with where it was at. But I came back to twice the stress that I left with. Mm-hmm. X amount of weeks. And you're kind of like, fuck, okay, that bit of downtime was like, it was so quickly eradicated.
Yep. So that makes
that, but not really. I just feel like I'm straight back.
Yeah. Well, what people have historically for years sort of like what a reset is like exactly what you said. I'll have a week and then I'll come back and I'll be great. And they have had a week in the past and come back and been great. But the challenges weren't as heavy then as they are now. You know, there's so many people now, like, we've had good times with money, and both of us, and we've had times when we've been, you know, not so flush and all that kind of stuff. But generally, we've always been all right. And you always know that you're going to have food in your belly, and you know that you can, you know, put your lights on or put your heat on if it's a bit cold. Obviously, talking about UK life more so here, but
Yeah.
but you know, there's generally people now who cannot put their heating on when it's cold, and they're sat wrapped up indoors with blankets on and all that kind of stuff because they're freezing cold. And then I think about some of the states in the US where people are outside burning shit to keep warm, that we always thought was, you know, like New Jack City and something that you saw in New Jack City, but actually it's fucking real now, and people are living in tents and can't afford food and all that. And then going back to what you said about the holiday, because the challenges are so demanding now, you don't actually switch off in the holiday because you're still checking in and you're still checking the numbers. And
it's like you said, like that now with you're so, you know, like back in the day when we all just had like, I mean, we've never really had what you'd call a 9-to-5 job, but
yeah,
back in the day, just personal training people. You know, we were like, right, I'm away for a week. Clients did their own thing. You came back, started training again, and you really were off. You know, and if you take that to 9-to-5 jobs, you know, you stick your fucking out of office on in the email, and you really are off work.
Yeah.
Boss hopefully doesn't fucking bother you. People take over your work while you're fucking away or whatever, and you come back and you just get back on it, and you know. But again, finding that way of everybody moving towards what I do think a lot of the solution is going to be, you know, over the next 10 years or so, is people, you know, are developing ways to make their own money without having to be relying on a boss and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There is that takeaway of like, okay, well, just understand what that comes with. And until you're in a really good position, you're never going to be off. Because you can go and sit on a fucking beach in the middle of nowhere, but if your phone's pinging every 2 minutes with issues, problems, calls you have to take or whatever, you know, and look, it's a price of maybe making more money. And if that's the case, I've got no problem taking a quick call if I'm getting paid fortunes for it. But when it's just constantly fighting fires,
well, then,
you know,
but then what it does as well, then, mate, you start to think, well, it's not really worth me going because I didn't really switch off while I was there anyway, and I'm not, you know, so you start sort of future setting and thinking, well, actually, me and Danny will have to go away separate again or whatever. And
conversations already happened, not about necessarily going away separate, but you know, you go away on holiday, and we've not done that for years, so we were kind of buzzing with, right, where next? Let's try and squeeze this into up before the end of the year. Should we do something at Christmas? And then you come back and you're like, okay, but financially that fucked us. Not necessarily what it cost to be away, but potential losses within the business.
Yeah, the drive of the business and all that.
That back up again, you know, and before we can fucking take a risk of going away and potentially losing some revenue again. So it's kind of, and again, it all depends on the state. Like, there could be people listening to this, their business is flying, it's making thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a fucking year or month or whatever, and they don't necessarily have these issues. But I think talking to people that are in the first 5 years of really running a business, you know, I'm hit and miss on fucking Bedros Koulian stuff, but when I came back, it flicked on by accident. I was listening to another podcast, but because I've got your list of subscripted fucking podcasts, his came on next, and it was kind of good timing in a way because I was beating myself up when I got back and was very much like, why the fuck are we not in a place where, I know what people see on Instagram, people think everything looks fucking great, but it's like, you know, we're not anywhere near where we need to be, right? And I'm questioning me, like, is it me? Am I doing something wrong? Do I expect too fucking higher standards? Do we charge too much fucking money? Like, well, what is the fucking problem? You know, LA is only 3 years old, and he did a podcast all on the realities of really running a business and how stressed and how hard it's going to be, you know, for at least the first 5 years, if not 10. And he went on and on about, you know, how thick-skinned you're going to have to be, how this you're going to have to be, how much in debt you're going to be, how much. And I was just like, fuck, this is all really negative. But right now I kind of needed to hear it because I sometimes, look, and again, Instagram's not the best place to fucking try and judge, but I look at other people and some of my peers that have set up their own gyms and personal, and they all look like they're doing great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fuck, am I doing something wrong? I'm like, am I that far? Like, I used to manage some of these guys. They used to work for me. And now they've got multiple personal training gyms. They're doing better than me. And fair play to them. I'm not knocking that part, or it looks like they are. But I'm kind of like, am I doing something fucking wrong? Why am I making this so hard? These guys are setting up exactly the same model as me and what I'm doing. And we all learn from the same place. And yet they seem to be fucking flying. And I'm fucking chasing my arse month in, month out. How's you questioning yourself? And then, I sat back a little bit and look, circumstances are different, investments different for different businesses. Who knows whether they're making a lot of money or not, or whether they're still being subsidized and all this sort of stuff. I don't know. Hopefully they're not. Hopefully they're doing really well. But just hearing again that, okay, all these people selling you this $1 billion fucking dream of like within a year, own a business, within a year you can be making fortunes living on a beach. The reality is that's not actually the case for most businesses. Most businesses are going to be in the trenches for potentially 5 to 10 years, at least maybe 5 years before you're starting to really turn a decent profit that can, change your life a little bit. And I was like, okay, dig in again, because we're on 3 years and having listened to this, and I'm sure some people have blitzed it in 18 months and are making good money. Whatever, I don't know. But just hearing that that's not everybody, and some people are going to fucking have to work for X amount of years before they get it off the ground, and maybe even not. Maybe it'll fail. But it's a little bit more normal to be grinding and working fucking hard than not, which then comes back down to your summit and the things that you're talking about. If that is the reality, so if I have to accept the reality that this could be like this for another 2, 4, 6, maybe 7 years, how do you psychologically keep yourself going? How do you, pardon the pun here, but how do you reset every now and again? How do you manage to take a break without everything falling apart and giving yourself more stress? So I don't have the answer to that. Like, it's not listening to podcasts. That wasn't the answer. That was just, it was a reminder.
I don't know if I have the answer, but I do know I have an ethos with this, and I do know it's an ethos that I'm going to try and get out there to the world. And I might be completely wrong with this, by the way, completely wrong, but I don't think I am. Absolutely.
Well, Rick, I've never known you to be wrong in your life, so I would be surprised if you are.
I don't think I'm wrong. I genuinely think that gluttony and greed, some of the 7 deadly sins, everything in life is driving us towards abundance, overspending, gluttony, greed, comparison. You talked and touched on looking at others and looking how well they're your perception of how well they're doing is, and let's be clear, their perception that they want you to think how well they're doing. Yeah. Now, we know some of our pals, no names, are doing really, really well. But then there's others out there that are perceiving they're doing really, or are making a perception that they're doing really, really well. And you and I both know they're not.
Yeah.
Anyway, comparison, it's a real problem. Abundance is a real problem. Overspending, a bit like why everyone, I touched it before, why is everyone a fat fucker now? Because they're overeating. There's gluttony. And what I believe is that we have to go right back to a world of simple. Now, the irony is, and the pun is, of course, we're looking at things like technology and AI to help us do it. Yeah. But actually, we need to go back to a mindset, almost like a stoic mindset, a mindset of simplicity and a mindset of keeping things simple, clear, remembering what's really important in life, etc. We had a great dinner in the Ivy, right? We had a brilliant meal. It was fucking superb. The reality was, pal, our food was great, but it was the company that was the best bit.
Yeah, we could have all probably sat somewhere else and paid half the price, if not less, right?
Absolutely.
And it's remembering that. And I think, like you said, and again, I get caught up in the comparison thing. And it's not even just the comparison thing. I think sometimes you work so fucking hard, and there's an element sometimes, I fucking deserve this.
Yeah, of course. Frustration kicks in.
I deserve to fucking, for once in my life, even if it all goes fucking tits up in the next 6 months, right now I deserve to have this car or this. And I get caught up in that, and it bugs me a little bit because I'm kind of like, fuck, I'd be better off just not giving a fuck. Who cares what other people think? Why am I fucking... But also some of these things I just like for myself. But, you know, it's easy. Like, I know me and you, when we went to the Ivy for that meal and everything, for us, it was a bit of a one-off. We were like, okay, we're going to splash out, bit of a celebration, da-da-da-da. But then our friend who was with us, he goes every fucking week.
He knew everything on the menu, didn't he? You know,
he knew all the fucking...
all the stuff, yeah.
It's not like, I mean, I don't know Mark's kind of finances, but it's not like he's massively more well off than us. It's just he likes that lifestyle. He, I guess, to a certain degree, values it, but there's an element of, I want to be seen in these places. This is my... There's nothing wrong with that as well either. But it is, are we getting caught up in stuff that we don't really fucking need? So I agree, there's got to be I don't know how we take... And again, it's going to be very interesting to see how stuff goes, and really interesting to see how you put this across over time. Because I don't see it, where I struggle with is, how do we take our... It's not about even just me and you at our age taking our mindsets back a little bit. It's talking to, you know, people half our age, and getting them to understand this kind of stuff when they weren't brought up in a world like that. They're brought up in a world of almost a little bit of entitlement. I don't want to knock the level of entitlement. They see all this stuff on social media. I should be able to have that. And I'm like, yeah, you should. But you're going to have to fucking work for it. And what work looks like nowadays with everything online is not what work looked like back in our day when we first started working. So it's really hard. And I've learned, you know, this generation game that we're in, where we are now the older people trying to advise other people how to live and how to and you're like, but they were brought up in a different way. And I remember being talked to a little bit like that, just in simple things, even just in the gym, talking to mates and being like, you know, you should really do this, this, and this, otherwise you're going to regret it when you're fucking 50. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I should have probably listened. So it's a huge battle, but it's never changed. This evolution of, you know, us trying to help the younger generation, but also remembering that we have to also try and understand the younger generation, because if we don't, we're just talking like our parents maybe talk. You know, not saying they were wrong about a lot of shit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the cycle, isn't it?
5 years ago might not be as right.
Yeah, I mean, there was one for I nearly ripped my headphones out then. If I'd have had the brand new generation Apple headphones in with no cable, then I wouldn't have done it. But I going off on one, but I'll just tell you because I think it's relevant. I was sat outside having my lunch today, and talking about like simplicity, and where my other half lives is a lovely little town, like sort of a cobbled square, and the weather was nice, and we just sat outside having some lunch on the bench, and there was a fascinating occurrence happened across the road that sort of like typified where it was at. Really, there was a bit of a disagreement between two cars over like a bit of parking space, and the person in the front is like 22 years old, and person in the back's got to be 80.
Yeah.
So they both get out. I'm just sat having my lunch watching this on the bench. But if it would have got really bad, with it being an older person, I definitely would have stepped in just so we're clear. They have this, quite a heated argument, and the younger person starts fucking this and swearing that at an old person, right? And I was straight away thinking, wow, hang on, this out of line here. This old dude is just cold, calm, collected, just like, stop swearing, you're in the wrong, go away type thing. Gets back in his car, shuts the door. The other person has a full-on meltdown, starts not at the old person then, just starts ranting in the street to random people going past, screaming, shouting, full-on meltdown, goes into a shop, starts screaming and shouting at the people in the shop. This old boy's just sat in his car by this point, just like, he's just let it go. He's just old school sort of warrior, stoic as anything, and he's just like, fuck off, and that's it. And the youngster had this astronomical meltdown over it, and this old boy was just like, No one gives a shit, you know. And then the best bit,
not getting your own way, right?
Why entitlement, iPad life, you know, want things now, we could go off on, we haven't got time today, have we? But we could go off on all sorts with that. The best bit is, luckily, there was a bit of a gap between the cars. So the young un gets in the car, walks past, still swearing, having this big meltdown, gets in the car, slams the car, has obviously put the car in reverse instead of going forward, and hammers it and goes backwards and literally misses the car by. But it was embarrassing. It was funny as well because they obviously wanted to speed off forwards and went backwards. And this old boy's just sat in his car, just like, you know. And
I mean, again, you know, not to harp on that point too much, but you know, at what point if you're young, you jump out and realize, okay, this guy's 80. It's like, you know what, just have the fucking space.
Absolutely.
You know, I can drive around a bit longer.
Absolutely.
You're reacting cars, you know, until you see the other person. You know, it fucking bugs me. Nothing bugs me more than people beeping their fucking horn and shit. I'm just like, you know.
I just think we're in this perpetual sort of state of fight or flight and a bit of anxiety, and we're always on the go, and and we lack a bit of resilience now, and we can't quite handle things not going our way. We get frustrated, da-di-da-di-da. And for me, that reset looks like getting back to a life of simplicity, getting back to, and listen, there's nothing wrong with having nice cars and nice watches and nice holidays and all that, because I like those things too. But I think we've got to get back to finding balance in our life, and I think quite a lot of us are out of whack. We're out of kilter. We lack equilibrium, to use the scientific term on it.
That's a big.
I don't even know if I can spell that word, but there we go. And that is what I believe is the answer. So yeah, equilibrium. So there we go.
To wrap up, then, tell us, you know, Summit 24. It's called, right?
Reset Summit 24. Yeah.
Before, who have you got on? So who's on, and what kind of things they're going to be talking about? Because you know, I think these events are fucking really, you know, positive. Having people, you know, not just standing up there giving advice, but just telling their story a little bit, and you know, what they've gone through. But who have you got on? I know you've got decent names.
Yeah, we've got some good speakers. They're going to talk a bit about the things that have gone well in their life, but also the challenges they've faced and how they've been able to bounce back and overcome and be flexible in their behaviour, their thoughts, all that kind of stuff. And whilst also being mindful not to preach, not to say, hey, we're perfect, you know, because none of us are. But we've got it's a full day. It's at the Hilton in Manchester in the UK. We've got a little light lunch provided, and you know, obviously refreshments, tea and coffee, and there's definitely a wellness theme there as well. But it's a day of networking and seminars and speaking. In that wellness area, we've got massages going on. Altius Healthcare, who are a company who work a lot with elite performance in the north of England and sport and all that. But then they also look after thousands of members of the public. So they're coming down. They're going to do biomechanical assessments, posture, massage. They're going to do a little health checks, all that kind of stuff. We've got a little mindset area where my other half's going to be doing the glass walking and the arrow breaking and all the stuff that we do on our mindset seminars. And then in terms of our speakers on the day, we've got TV personality Leanne Brown. She set up her business a few years ago. She does tons of work in retreats and meditation and mindfulness with a business partner, Sophie Baines. They're going to start the day with a kind of little bit of a mindfulness session and setting intentions for the day. We've then got former WBA world champion Anthony Crawler. He's going to talk about not only how he did well in his career, but how he bounced back from losses and a very violent attack where he was attacked in the street and it almost ended his career. Almost took all his dreams away from him. We've got Stacey Copeland, who's going to talk how she pivoted from being a professional footballer into a professional boxer in an era when women's sport was really frowned upon.
Yeah.
But then how she's pivoted again into being a charity worker and a TV and radio personality. We've got a gentleman called Ojo, who's a local chap. I think Ojo's going to go on to become very well known because he self-taught himself how to lose 100 kilos in weight.
Amazing.
Really, really cool guy. Really nice, really personable. And there's a deeper story than just the weight loss there as well, not to diminish his weight loss story. We've got Adele Lee, who's an NLP master practitioner who goes into companies doing transformational work, mindset. She's going to do an interactive session based around the acronym of RESET, which is really cool. She's built this acronym herself. I've seen Adele speak before. She's absolutely amazing. And then my other half, Laura, who people may or may not know, worked for Headspace for a number of years. And worked out in LA, not far from you guys, didn't she? And so she's going to join a panel. We've got a Louise Carter, a dietitian, coming and talking about nutrition. Sophie Baines also has a big nutritional approach in terms of how to fuel the brain and fuel the gut and all that kind of stuff. And then we've literally just added a few days ago a young Olympic athlete called Lewis Davey, who's just been to the Olympics in Paris and was bronze medalist in the 4x400, and they broke the European record. So we've got, I think I've got everyone there, I think.
No, that's full on. I mean, that's good. I knew some of them. I didn't know all of them because I've been keeping up to date with your stuff. And you still got a few tickets left. Where can people?
Yeah, got a few. Oh, yeah, sorry, as well. We've got my mate Keith Southern speaking. He's on the panel as well. Keith's going to talk about his journey to being uber successful as a businessman and being a big millionaire, living a millionaire lifestyle, to losing it all and then resetting and coming back from that as well. I thought I had one more. Tickets are resetsummit.co.uk.
Perfect. Cool. All right. Well, I know your stuff's usually shit hot. It's usually good days. So look, if you are in Manchester, try and check it out, because I think, if you're looking, even just as the thing says reset, but just go and listen to other people's life stories can always be a very positive thing. So if you're around Manchester, check it out. Let's wrap up there. I think that's a good place to finish.
Yeah. As always, we go off on different tangents, don't we? But it's been good. And you obviously, as we always wrap up with, I'm Rick, you're Jon. This is the Winning Edge podcast. We are, as always, navigating the challenges of life, but we aim to be as consistent as we can and get regular podcasts out and grow our listening base. So like and share and follow us and all that kind of stuff. Subscribe. That's the word I was looking for.
That's the one. Subscribe. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care.